From the mid-2000s up until the 2010s, the debate on what constitutes an anime has always been a very hot topic in our community. Believe me when I say that many forum posts and comment sections were set on fire because of flame wars between anime fans simply trying to label what is and is not an anime. And although it's well established that the word anime is just a catch-all term in Japan for animation, this hasn't really stopped people from labeling and even gatekeeping shows from entering our side of pop culture, which is the side of shows and comics specifically from Japan. And while most people have a general image they conjure up when you say anime, it's not as simple as it used to be. Whether you consider something anime because of its art style, or the intended audience, or the ethnicity of its creators, or what country it was produced in, it's just getting more and more muddy. You can have the most giga-brained opinion on what really is anime, but there's always some new show that comes out and completely changes up the definition. Because just like the word itself, the anime industry is very broad and isn't as exclusive as we thought it was. So as someone who has been in this community for quite a while, I thought it'd be really fun to take a look back at some of the more wacky takes of the anime community, what's happening to the industry now, and explain why anime isn't this niche thing as you thought it was. If you grew up watching anime, then you definitely had this feeling where you felt that anime was just different. And I don't mean in a hipster, I have better taste than you kind of way, but rather it was just something that hadn't really been seen before. I remember discovering shows like Sailor Moon and Cowboy Bebop airing on Toonami and being immediately captivated by what I saw. It was energetic, it was wacky, its action scenes were like nothing else. It definitely got weird from time to time, but this is partly why some of us stuck to watching anime. It was this hidden, exotic thing that some of us found belonging in that you could only get from Japan. And I think this is why a lot of people were determined to put labels on what was anime. While shows like Avatar and even Ruby were obviously anime inspired, for the longest of time they weren't considered anime as they weren't from Japan. And it was this kind of attitude that was the most common in the community. That being, anime can only be animation that was from Japan. While it was easy to argue this back a few years, little did we know that it was going to get complicated. A lot complicated. Whenever any fandom gets big enough, that unifying identity that brought people together will surely and inevitably change over time. Case in point, there was really no such thing as being a casual anime fan back then. You were either really into it and wanted more of this foreign media, or you weren't and wanted to stay far, far away. But now, with anime as popular as it is, the community has never been more diverse. You got casual fans, you got hardcore fans, you got Elon Musk rocking that kakegurui drip, you even got Academy Award-winning actor Christoph Waltz talking to Kizuna Ai asking if she's single. And no, your eyes aren't deceiving you, this footage is very much real. Our small slice of pop culture has pretty much grown past the image of sweaty anime nerds in their mom's basement to basically a movement. Some of the biggest content creators are ones that talk about anime and they rake in millions of views. Vtubers using the anime aesthetic to reach fans across the entire world, some of which haven't watched a single anime. Hatsune Miku being set to perform at Coachella of all places. And keep in mind, this is ignoring the industry side of things. Crunchyroll went from just streaming anime to actually help make them. Netflix couldn't wait for seasonal anime releases and said fuck it and started making their own. China wanted to grow larger and threw their own hat into the ring with some notable standouts. The era where anime was seen as niche and exotic really is a thing of the past, since more countries are getting involved and the fan base becomes more international. And because of this, there's even less of a need for people to limit what anime can be. It becomes something far removed from what it once was. It becomes a movement. It becomes an idea. It becomes an aesthetic. Something you can't easily describe, but that you can instantly recognize and identify with. I've said this before in my anime fashion video, but the modern day anime scene has basically transcended itself and has become more than just watching anime. And I don't mean to distill the significance and history of Japanese animation into just vibes, but to better explain what the heck I'm saying, I'm gonna use two examples. Vtubers and Rooster Teeth's Ruby. These were two things in the anime community that when they came out couldn't have got a more polarizing reception. VTubers took the world by storm and were suddenly some of the biggest content creators on the internet. And while you could chalk up their success to coming out at a time when everyone was stuck at home and had nothing else to do, a lot of people tend to gloss over the fact that virtual anime avatars weren't anything new. But part of what made them popular was how easily accessible it was. Soon enough, platforms like Twitch and YouTube were flooded by content featuring these characters that, to an untrained eye, might have come from just another anime. Add on to the fact that a lot of the memes you see coming from VTubers are just tropes and cliches that you would see in anime. Things like ara ara,
ara ara,
the cutesy high-pitched anime voice,
Oh, you're Germany! Starden, Borden, Harden, Bard!
the hentai noises, While I have my own opinion about VTubers, it's surreal to see these characters gain millions of fans worldwide just by using the aesthetics and the idea of anime. I actually know some people in real life who don't watch a lick of anime but are neck deep in some VTuber communities. As for Ruby, well, Ruby is... Look, Ruby is trying, okay? Ruby wasn't the first show that tried to pass itself off as an anime, but it definitely was the loudest. While other shows like Avatar were content in doing their own thing, Rooster Teeth really wanted people to look at Ruby as an anime. Between getting sponsored by Funimation and talking about how all their production staff were actually super massive weebs, Rooster Teeth was insistent that even though it came from America, this can be anime. And while I've only watched the first 3 seasons, Ruby's got all the fixings. It's got kuderes, it's got himederes, it's got your Yuri romance, it's even got good sakuga. So whether or not Ruby is an anime, it's definitely using the ideas and aesthetics of it. And to bring things a bit full circle actually, to promote the readaptation Ruby Ice Queendom, they actually got the voice actor for the main character to do a few live streams as a VTuber. At this point in time, it's actually harder to find who hasn't tried using the anime aesthetic. You got Halo of all things collaborating with different studios to give us Halo Legends. Riot hiring PA Works to make a music video for them. The multiple attempts by Hollywood to make a live-action adaptation of popular anime. Because of how global anime has become, you can find traces of it almost anywhere. Shit, just put some anime titties on something, I'd probably take a look. That's a fucking sentence. Look, I pretend to be smart with these video essays. I never once said I wasn't easy. With so much diversity now, will anyone really care if we call this an anime or that an anime? And will it really impact the way you enjoy some pieces of animation? Even if you're someone that wants to differentiate between a manga, a manhwa, or a donghua, there's no denying that all of these use the same unifying aesthetics that we're all familiar with. It all comes from the same idea in the end. So the question that we should ask ourselves isn't, does this count as an anime, but rather, does this appeal to me and my idea of anime? Which I feel is going to be the mentality of a lot of people going forward. In the end, what counts as an anime isn't going to be decided by some degenerate weebs arguing in some comment sections. It's going to be decided by us. It's going to be decided by what we as a community agree on. And with anything community driven, it can change over time. I remember reading about how in Japan, otakus were kinda looked down upon. Now it's become a buzzword to describe people in places that are familiar with the anime aesthetic. Hell, does anyone remember when being called a weeaboo was a massive insult, but now everyone calls themselves a fucking weeb? I call myself a fucking weeb. I am a fucking weeb. Again, I don't want to say that anime is just a vibe. To a degree, anime will forever be tied to the identity of Japan and people will know it for that. But the deeper you dig, the more you'll find that anime is more than just a single form of animation, a single genre, a single way of storytelling, a single art style, and as time goes on, more than something that we just watch. Hey guys, Muxedotask here. If you're still watching, I just want to say thank you so much for watching the video until the very end. It genuinely means a lot to me. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what's up with this post-video commentary? And the answer to that is, I just want to take the opportunity to kind of interact with you guys directly, because my usual thing is that I'll upload for that month and then I'll ghost you guys until the next video, and then we repeat again and again and again. I'm like the dad that leaves for milk, but I actually do come back occasionally. So yeah, I just wanted to address that for a bit. I also want to talk about a comment that I got on my last video. It's a really good comment actually. So yeah, shout out to Vito if you're watching this. They basically asked, how long does it take for me to usually make a video, and what's the most difficult part of making these videos? And it basically boils down to what topic I'm talking about and how difficult is it to find footage about what I'm talking about. For example, my food video was super easy to find footage for. There's so many lo-fi anime food edits on YouTube that I had the privilege to be spoiled for choice when it came to finding footage. Or my Makia video even, where all I had to do was just get footage from one movie, comparatively to my isekai or even my fashion video, where I have to get footage from 10 different sources. There are days when I'm making a video, I don't even do any kind of editing. I just spend the whole day finding footage because yeah, it can get that annoying sometimes. I once spent an hour looking for a 30-second clip, only for me to decide when I saw the final cut, man, this looks like shit. So yeah, it mainly boils down to those three things technically. How complex is the topic, how easy it is to find footage for that topic, and when I do find footage, does the footage look good? Because if you've worked with video editing long enough, you'll know that you'll have an idea, you'll put into practice, and it just doesn't meet your expectations whatsoever, and you spent an hour making that edit. I'm not malding, you are. And the other thing is that I do everything practically by myself. I do all the script writing, I do all the footage gathering, I do all the storyboarding for the video, I have to do all the video editing by myself, and that's assuming nothing happens to me while making the video. This video actually was supposed to come out mid-September, but I got sick at the end of August, first week of September like that, so that definitely slowed down the pace at which this video would come out. The other thing that got in my way for making this video was Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is really good, guys. 10 out of 10 game. I recommend. There were plenty of times when I was playing where I just thought to myself, man, I should really be editing, but Shadowheart isn't gonna riz herself. So yeah, I think that's it really. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you lovely people next time.